August the 9th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at the latest from the 7-day outlook from the Hurricane Center. And let me say this before we get started. In the last 3 or 4 years, I've noticed a change in some of the predictions of the hurricanes. I don't know if it's a graduating class and we got a lot of new DEI meteorologists, or is it AI, or is it a combination of both? You got DEI people feeding in AI and trash in, trash out. I don't care what the computer is. But what we're seeing, I'm not trying to downplay them. What we're seeing, though, is a lot of predictions way too early, and many of them are not coming forward. They're not happening. And the reason I say that is usually before that period, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you would see, when you'd see a storm predicted and they start to track it, there would actually be a storm there. It wouldn't be like in 5 days they still have an X over one area, an area that they might, that think that might produce a storm. It just didn't happen that way. So maybe again, the AI influence into the prediction and the programmers may be just a little weak as far as backward knowledge, looking at the history of these storms and things like that. Again, not putting them down, just maybe stating facts. But maybe you guys have noticed it also. All these orange and yellow and markers 10, 20, 30%, and then nothing really happens. And they didn't do that until lately. We actually saw a storm, or saw the makings of a storm very clearly before they would start doing this. Anyway, Dexter is out into the North Atlantic. We have this system, disturbance 1, 20% chance of development, but it's turning up, going to follow it. We had looked at this earlier in the week, and if the high pressure had stayed over the Atlantic, over this area, that storm would have tracked further. But there was an opening behind Dexter, the storm that pulled out, and it's following it. Now, this storm is, it may be different because the high pressure is trying to set back into place over the Atlantic and part of the northern Gulf. And what that will do is keep this thing pushed further as far as a straight line west. So we're going to have to watch it. But this one, again, 20% chance of formation. It's going out into the Atlantic. It never really had much of a chance anyway. But this one, you got a 40% chance, and they're saying that tropical wave that has now emerged offshore the west coast of Africa is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear favorable for gradual development of the system, and a tropical depression could form by the middle to the latter part of the next week while it moves west-northwestward at 15 to 20 miles an hour across the eastern and central tropical Atlantic. Locally heavy rainfall is possible Sunday and Monday across portions of the Cabo Verde Islands. And again, this is the location of the disturbance. Here's the Cabo Verde Islands, but this is the circle in which they think it will actually form. Now, let's take a look at the wide Atlantic itself, guys. You can see the reflection of the sun skating along here right across the top of South America. See that? You can also see quite a bit of the Saharan sand layer blowing off of Africa. Does it every year? It seems to be in the last 5 or 6 years a little thicker, but that could be because of droughts. Some of that is changing. But when you have this type sand, it's like throwing sand down on wet concrete. It absorbs the moisture. And in this case, it absorbs what the storm needs is that warm moisture. But this is the second storm they've been saying was going to develop for, what, a week or two now. And here's Dexter out here. But right here, you see this rotation right there. We're finally seeing that. And it's going to move south of the Cabo Verde Islands. And they're thinking somewhere in this area forming. Now, it's got to do that dealing with the Saharan sand because it's an absorbent. Also, the high pressure will have a lot to do with that and where it ends up. But it's been very mild year. We thought it was going to kick up. Right after I talked about it, we saw the Dexter move off the East Coast. But these other predictions have been pretty flaky, to be honest with you. Now, what you're seeing in the top is Canadian wildfire smoke. Look at that gray image. So UK, you guys over in that area, you're getting it. Like I said the other day, you're going to get wind, rain, and smoke from the good old USA. Now let's switch over to infrared. This is the storm right there. And it's really the strongest one that I've seen come off of Africa so far. We haven't seen many at all. And these are the storms again moving out. You can see where the moisture is. There's a pretty good storm right here, guys. What is this, south of Wisconsin, or Indiana, excuse me. Wisconsin's up above it and coming down a little further into northern Missouri. And Florida around you, you have actually a high pressure system that's got a lot of moisture in it. It's going clockwise. And we are getting some pretty good cloud cover. It's brought our temperature down from 105 heat index now to 99. So that's a big improvement. Temperature's 86, humidity's 80. And it's just a cloud cover. Now that may change. We're seeing more moisture coming off of the Gulf itself. But Florida, you're kind of surrounded in it. Hope you're getting it where it's needed. Now let's take a look at where the pressure is supposed to be, or the high pressure over the Atlantic, with 3 of the current models. Now first, this is NAVGEM. It's the U.S. Navy model of the Atlantic. And you're seeing the storms going over to the UK. But right here, this one's staying below. You see it getting all the way to the Windward Islands here. Below the orange area, which is high pressure. Most of you've heard that ad nauseum watching my videos. But that really is the steering factor here. Now, it's also showing a secondary storm coming off of Africa and being a little further north, covering the Cabo Verde Islands. And it also could be somewhat trapped moving in this westward direction by the high pressure area. Down into the Caribbean, guys, not a lot happening yet. And that's kind of surprising for this point of our time of the year. Now notice as we look at this, when this stops, guys, we are dealing with the 16th of August for the storm. And today is the 9th. So we're a week out for that to happen. But in the meantime, you have to watch for the little pop-up storms off the Atlantic this time of the year around the Carolinas and through that area. Now let's take a look at the Canadian model. Now pretty much the same thing, except the Canadian model goes out 3 days further to the 19th. We just watched the Navy model go up to the 16th. Again, trapped under the high pressure, but again, look at the timestamp, 19th. And we stop right here entering the Caribbean and very close to it on the 16th on the Navy model. So what they're showing is it pretty much same track as the Navy, gets in here, and there's an opening allowing it to start to slip up the East Coast. Then we don't know now that we're getting out now 10 days at that point. Again, it's going to depend on that orange blob we are watching. Now this is the GFS. Remember, it's very accurate within that first week, but this thing will go out to about the 25th. But what it's showing is same storm being trapped under the high pressure area, moving westward, sensing that slight opening. Here it comes right there. But then it gets much closer. It strengthens right here, gets very large, pulls up and rakes Hatteras and along the East Coast. It's not offshore. That was my concern with the model we just looked at from the Canadians, is that it looked like it was getting mighty close to shore. Now watch again. This is showing an impact around, that's the 19th, around the 22nd, 21st, along Hatteras. Now we're a couple of weeks out, but we are starting to see some pickup. And the one thing we do have to watch is this storm right here, regardless of where it goes, especially if I was anywhere in the Caribbean or up in the Bahamas during that period of time. We've seen some pretty rough storms come into that area. Now, this is an interesting chart in a couple of ways, but it's going back into 2015, so 10 years of hurricanes, starting with 2015 on the bottom and coming up to the current storm season we're in now. Green is a tropical storm, blue is a hurricane category 1 or 2, and then purple is a category 3 or higher, okay? So far in 25, we've had, during the month of June, 2 tropical storms. Not very strong, you saw those. And then in July, 1. And then this month in August, we've seen one, but nothing as far as hurricanes. And if you go back to the last time we saw it anywhere similar to that, in 2024, we had one major hurricane in June, just last year. Then nothing at all in July, and then two minor hurricanes, or one, it looks like a Cat 1 and a Cat 2 in August, and then it started to increase, and we ended up having 5 hurricanes, 3 or higher last year. We tracked those. Then 2023, kind of similar, but right in here in 2022, we had one storm instead of two in June, right here, 2025, and 2022, June. Then in July, we had one tropical storm and a major hurricane. Then nothing right here in August. Kind of like what we're seeing now. But then suddenly, as we got into September, we had 2 tropical storms, 2 major hurricanes, 2 minor hurricanes. The season ended with just those big storms there. But then in October, we had 2 hurricanes, and then in November, 2. So it's kind of setting up like 2022. Now, in the 10 years, the toughest season, as far as especially the end of it, which is the most dangerous, was 2020, 5 years ago. We had a couple of tropical storms here, 3 tropical storms and 2 hurricanes in July, 1 major, 1 minor hurricane in August. Then it starts to pick up. We had 3 minor hurricanes in September, 1 major, and then 1 minor hurricane and 4 back-to-back major hurricanes, and then ending in November with another major hurricane. And so it changes every year. You see quite a bit of difference. But right now, we are at the mildest in 10 years. You see that? Even in 2022, we had 1 Category 3 or plus above that. Then in August, we had, in 2015, which we had a mild June and July, but we had at least a major and minor hurricane and a tropical storm. So we're setting up kind of like the 2022 situation. Will it be mild in the beginning? It has so far, but then start to pick up at the end like here. We don't know yet. It's hard to tell. We do know there's some shifting of the planet. The tropical convergence zone shifted and northward, and actually the Earth tilted south to 151 miles, and that changed the angle of the sun on the Earth, which made the tropical convergence zone or intertropical zone appear to be higher because of where the direct sunlight was hitting our planet. But there's a tilt there, and that's why the sun and the moon are setting in different places. It's interesting. It's interesting also what some of the things they're finding in the Antarctic. That's another video. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. Well, you know that this channel keeps an eye on any type of tropical activity that could affect us. It's a heads up. Be safe.